In the visual novel community, there seems to be a huge ongoing debate of whether it's okay for people to read machine translation or not. Why don't we try to make this as scientific as possible and provide a 10-minute-ish scene comparison. In this video, I'm going to get an official translation and compare it with a machine translation and see how they read and compare. For reference, the visual novel I plan to use is Sanoba or Sabbat the Witch. It got an official translation by Nekonyan, one of the more well-respected English translators in the industry. What's even more convenient is that Sanoba Witch's official release has a language changer option, so we can actually have a side-by-side of the original Japanese text for all you JOP critiques out there with the official English translation. To make this fair as I possibly can, I'm going to be using Sugoi Translator and DeepL. DeepL is generally considered the most respected machine translation website out there. Sugoi Translator is a convenient way to access the DeepL translation services and auto-translate without having to go to a browser window to keep copy-pasting text into DeepL. In order to get the Japanese text from Sanoba to do the machine translation, I'm going to use Textractor. So anyway, let's get started. I chose the scene at the beginning of Sanoba because it's a slice of life scene. So if a machine translation can't even do a scene like this right, then why even bother using it? What helps is that the different characters that are going to show up have different speaking styles. For example, Nene Ayachi, the white-haired main heroine, speaks in a very typical polite language that you would use when learning Japanese. Meanwhile, the other characters have varying degrees of casual language, so we can see how well machine translation picks up on stuff like that. Just for reference, the blue box is the machine translation box for Sugoi Translator and DeepL, while the bottom is going to have the original Japanese text as well as the official translation by Nekonyan. I'm going to provide light commentary based on the basic Japanese that I know, but I'll try to keep it as little as possible so you guys can make up your own opinions. Well, these based on the first 3 lines, it appears to be decent enough. The machine translation time was a little shorter. Okay, so the first flaw I see is that machine translation doesn't assume pronouns very well, because the Japanese language doesn't really have them for the most part. Also, they're really bad with honorifics, so if you remember, she just called Wakana Mr. Karia even though she's obviously a girl. That's because I assume machine translation doesn't pick up on genders pretty well, just because calling someone san is very gender neutral. Another flaw I'm seeing is Nene's last name is Ayachi, and sometimes they get it wrong. That's because machine translation kind of has to guess what the name is, and kanji might not match up with the character's official declared name. Yeah, that's another. I said Ayaji, even though it's supposed to be Ayachi, but. So far, when there's no names or honorifics, the sentences read relatively well. Oh, they also can't get schools correctly. The Kimazatsu Academy was heading correctly. But anyway, as I was saying, any sentence that doesn't have names or honorifics honestly read pretty close to the official translation. Obviously, they're a little bit more direct and literal, but I think that's the idea. Machine translation can't translate context very well. That's why having an official translation and editor can help make the English text read better. But so far, it kind of seems like if you just want a general idea of like what the text reads, machine translation can, at least if you use DeepL, can kind of get the idea, just won't read. Another flaw I see here is sometimes machine translation kind of has duplicate lines, or which is kind of weird. I'm sure why it does that.
それなりの意味があると思うんだけどな。そっか。ごめん、あやちさん。
There's another problem with pronouns. Since Wakana didn't actually say pronouns in the sentence, it defaults to I even though she's clearly talking about Nene. Because the Japanese language just assumes context, so you don't have to put pronouns in every single sentence. That's a completely wrong sentence. Yeah, that's definitely not what that means. Yeah, stuff like this requires context in order to fully get. Or else you're like, what the heck is an Oka Institute?
俺もそれって同好会じゃなくてちゃんとした部なの？
そうですよ。実は私たちが入学する前からあった部活なんです。今は部員がいなくて。
Yeah, honestly, a lot of these sentences pretty much read the same with like different wording. Maybe a little bit more literal on the machine translation. Also, one thing I noticed is that when there's ellipses, sometimes the grammar kind of reads funny, like non-capital letters. And like how words kind of seem out of place.
私は占いをオカルトと言っても幅は広いので、それに部には私しかいませんから結構好きにできるんです。
占いっていうと指で印を切ったりしてこんなん出ましたけどとかいうあれ？
即座にツッコミ入れてる星名もなかなかだと思うけど、私そのネタわからないし。マニアックすぎだよね、あやちさん。
さすがに白蛇占いはできませんよ。
Yeah, that's definitely a sentence that wouldn't make sense without context.
一応知ってはいますけど、私にできるのはたったぐらいです。
Another duplicate line that's kind of annoying with DeepL sometimes.
で、おかけんでは人生相談にも乗ってくれるわけ。
あくまで占いの延長線上のものですから、人生相談なんていうほど大層なものじゃありません。でも、もし星名くんも嫌いでなければ、いつでも部室に来てください。あや
ちさん、古文の宿題で教えてほしいことがあるんだけど。
はい、すぐに行きます。それじゃ、私はこれで。
That's definitely wrong.
ほんと、あやちさんはすごいな。頭も良くて可愛くて選べることもなくて。
That's very literal.
あんな完璧な子が現実にいるのも本当に驚きだよな。しかしあやちさんが相談に乗ってくれるのか。もっと噂になってもおかしくないと思う。
That incentive does not read
女
well.
子の間ではそれなりに有名だよ。
Another problem with
ただ男子に知られて
pronouns.
騒ぎになると迷惑をかけちゃうからね。
そうだったのか。
Yeah, that last word is definitely not duh. It's supposed to be a laugh.
こんなところにオカルトな能力を持つ人がいるよ。
いやいや、丸見えだったよ。ピンク色のコン
Yeah,
カ
that
ン
pink
がスケ
souls
スケだ
thing
った
definitely seems like slang.
嘘。
And no,
あ、本当だ。
そういうことだから二人も広めたりしないようにね。
おう、わかった。
temporary house, that I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be
お金がな
Wakana's
くて
name.
悩んでる時にね。
Finally, the first line that's exactly the same.
実はギターが欲しいんだよね。
ギター？それはまた意外な答えだな。
まあ多少はね。もともとはお父さんがバンドをやってた。
One thing I noticed with Sugoi is it tries to implement, keep as much of the original Japanese grammar as much as possible, while the official translation definitely tries to have more typical English grammar.
俺は修士よりは弾けるかもな。一時期
To
音
me,
楽に凝ってた
Hiyagi,
時期があ
that's
ったか
definitely
ら
supposed to be Shuji, the
そ
main
の時にギタ
protagonist's
ーを
name.
かじったから。
そうなの？それこそ意外だよ。
昔の話だよ。で、バイトして買うならいいやつ？
まあそれなりにはね。正直楽器ってピンキリだから。 お父さんは自分で買えって言うんだよ。少しぐらい援助してくれてもいいの
He
に
said,
さ。
huh? Oh, where's Ayachi-san?
アルバイト先を紹介してもらった。で、今度のお給料でようやく目標金額に達するから近いうちに買いに行くんだ。
Oh, they forgot the laugh at the end.
バイトか。いいなあ、そういうの。俺にも紹介してくれないかな。
今君、そしたらお近づきになれるかも。その上お礼と称して初給料でデートで誘
Him,
える
yeah, they're ignoring, once again, ignoring the fact that they're
俺の
talking
周り
about
はオカルト能力
a
者だら
girl,
け。
because once again, the Japanese language does not assume context. You don't have to insert pronouns to everything. Oh, sorry.
あんな可愛い子と
Japanese
知り
language
合いになれるチャンスが
assumes
あるなら
context.
見
You don't
逃
have
せ
to
ない
put
だろ。
pronouns in
男
anything.
としてはさ。
まあ一理あるかな。
今あいつら綾地さんと話をしてたよな。何を話していたんだ。気になる。
Oh, that's another problem. If they're stuttering, it keeps the stutter, even though it's supposed to, it treats it, the first stutter is like a different word, even though it's clearly just them trying to say one word, but like stuttering to say it.
星名、顔を歪めたりしてどうしたの？
何を人事みたいに。お前だって綾地さんと仲良くなりたいだろ。というか占ってもらえば。せっかく誘われたわけだしよ。もったいないの。
Another sentence that's finally exactly the
面白
same.
半分で言ったら逆に嫌われる気もするけどね。
そうなの？
下心見え見えだったら誰だって警戒するですよ。
ただしイケメンは除く。
そうだね。イケメンだったらね。
Oh damn, she's way more direct than the official translation.
綾地さんみたいな人ってさ、そう単純じゃないと思うんだよね。
See, another case of they make honorifics Mr. for some reason, just because they just assume it's a guy for some reason, even though
内面がイケメン
San
で
is a gender neutral
そんな
honorific.
下心で近づくような人じゃないってこと。
グーの音も出ないってこういう時に使う。
Whoa, yeah, sometimes DeepL has some weird glitches like that, where it just refuses to translate the whole line and
おっと、
gets
そ
stuck.
うだね。
And that about wraps this video up. I know this is just one scene, but I wanted to see how people would react and think of this series, because if you guys like it, I might consider doing another one. But I just mostly wanted to see how machine translation would fare in a simple slice of life scene. What were your thoughts on this machine translation and how it compared to the official translation, but more importantly, the original Japanese text? Feel free to leave a comment below on any thoughts you have about this video.